You've experienced at one point or another. Energy is in everything that we have. Now, thankfully, science is getting caught up with a lot of the stuff that back then the Eastern, society was looked at as crazy woo-woo theories. A lot of our things that we think about, which is what actually creates our external reality. What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode here of Walking Manifestator. I'm your host, 𝐓𝐢𝐦𝐞𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐦𝐩𝐬, and in today's conversation, I want to dive deep into something that I feel that as long as you're human, you've experienced at one point or another, and that is people pleasing. Now, for those of you that have been watching our previous videos, I talk a lot about energy. Energy is in everything that we have. Now, thankfully, science is getting caught up with a lot of the stuff that back then the Eastern, society was looked at as crazy woo-woo theories, right? And now science is really starting to catch on with the fact that we are energy and that manifestations are actually true because we're able to control a lot of our things that we think about, which is what actually creates our external reality. But with that being said, I definitely think that people pleasing is a very important thing to talk about, because when we are trying to please somebody else, we are neglecting our own well-being, we're neglecting our own needs, and quite frankly, we're not aware of how to set boundaries. So for those of you that are struggling with people pleasing, I know that I have struggled with it a lot in the past as I am starting to just really know my own self-worth and really be comfortable with who I am and the vision of myself that I see myself becoming. I'm gradually becoming less and less people pleasing, because I know that at the end of the day, as long as I'm working on myself, as long as I am coming across as a human being that is genuinely, looking to care for others in the ways that I possibly can, and looking to care for myself and my own mental, emotional, and physical well-being, I know that it's not my problem how somebody else is going to perceive me. It's their own internal dialogue that they have with themselves, which is reflected on how they're seeing me. So we'll get into it. And at the end, I do want to give you 3 tangible steps that you can really incorporate in your life that are going to help you hopefully in this journey. Now, the first thing I want to cover today is going to be the energy alignment behind this. Now, a lot of us don't take the time to really understand where this people pleasing is coming from. But let's look at it for what it is. If you're pleasing somebody else at the cost of neglecting your own mental, physical, physiological self-well-being, then we are, number one, not looking to actually set boundaries that are healthy. But number 2, we are so consumed with the thought of somebody else not liking us that we're willing to let go of what we perceive as healthy or unhealthy or good or bad for our own well-being, simply at the cost of making somebody else like us. And this is really from looking for that external validation, right? When we look at recognizing these patterns, it's the fact that we are not really identifying with the self-worth that you truly hold. And when we talk about energy, we need to remember that the energy that we're vibrating at is the energy that we're going to attract. And I know sometimes that can, ruffle a few feathers, because you might say, I was behaving great that day and I still had a situation that was not ideal. The way that I like to see it and explain it is, just because you do one good deed today doesn't account for years of previous patterns that you have continuously held. So when I hear people talk about, well, I was in a great energy this past week and nothing great happened, I'd manifested nothing, I'm like, okay, and how long have you been telling yourself and programming yourself with negative beliefs, behaviors, and thoughts? And they're like, oh, well, I've been, like this for my, forever, since I can remember. Okay, so you're telling me that 20 plus years of you acting this way, you expect that a week is going to just change everything for you. And if you see it in that perspective, you can understand how crazy and absurd that sounds. But that's really what's happening. When we are people pleasing, we are forgetting of our own self-worth. And this is the number one thing that I can recommend to you. You need to really dig deep into finding out what are those things that you're not happy about yourself. Maybe it's the fact that you're not making enough money, or maybe it's the fact that you're not in the job that you really like, or the relationship that you really like, or you've gained some pounds, whatever that is. But identifying is the first step into that self-realization of that worth that you really are. And it's very important to identify it, because a lot of the times you can sit here and say, yeah, I know what I need to fix, but I don't know how to fix it. But a lot of people are also very much blinded and blindsided to their own blind spots, and they're like, no, I'm perfect and I have nothing wrong, and the rest of the world is just the one falling apart and I have nothing to fix. So there's two sides of that spectrum. And it's really important when you are looking to grow in this journey to identify, where are my blind spots? What can I improve? And this is something that you can easily do talking with somebody that might feel comfortable enough being blunt with you. This is why I personally love investing in coaches, because I have found the best return from investing in coaches that have no reason to lie to me. Like, they're there because they want to help me be able to become a better version in whatever that might be, whether it's investing, whether it's in, you know, my real estate career, whether it's in my coaching career. But people that are genuinely there because it's a win-win, right? If I'm honest with you and you become better, then it's going to be a recommendation for me, and you got to benefit yourself, and it's a win-win. I say this because you need to find that one person that's really willing to be honest with you and tell you what are those blind spots that you need to actively work on. Now, the second thing I want to tap into is the law of vibration. And I briefly talked about this right now, but the law of vibration really does state that everything that you are in vibration to is what is going to reflect back. Okay, that's the simplest way to paraphrase this. So when we are in this energy that is negative around ourselves, typically we're also going to attract those people that are in a lower vibration. And something that really resonates with me is you're never going to have somebody, and you can go and do your own research. I've done thousands of hours of research on this. But people that are truly successful and happy, okay, there's a difference between somebody that's successful but not happy. And there's a difference between somebody that is actually successful and happy, okay? Somebody that's genuinely successful and happy is never, okay, going to try to rain on your parade. That's just what it is. Why? Because they're so happy with life, they're so in love with life that they want others to win. They're rooting for you. They genuinely want you to go and become the best version of yourself in whatever industry that might be, okay? And if you think about it from that perspective, you can really understand that the reality is only the people that are vibrating at that lower frequency are going to be the ones that are going to try and make you do something that you don't feel comfortable with, or try and test your boundaries. And this taps into the mirror effect, the third point that I want to make today. If you think about it, we are all reflections of our own wounded patterns, okay? And let me repeat that. You are a reflection to somebody else of your own wounded patterns. What I mean by this, I'm going to use an example. I recently, for those of you that have been following along, you know that I have a real estate team here in El Paso, Texas. And recently, in the past 2 years, I've really been getting into now the personal development, really trying to teach other people how to just win in life generally, because I personally have implemented these teachings in my life that have brought me so much peace and have completely changed me. Like, anybody that knew me, that knows me now, they're like, oh my gosh, you're not the same person. And that's the best compliment I can get. But I say this because in that other account that I have, which is for my real estate videos, I had a person that commented something along the lines of, there was two comments, but the one that comes to mind right away was like, oh, says the desperate agent, because apparently I was giving some feedback about, you know, real estate, and somebody said, says the desperate agent. I guess they were implying that, you know, I'm maybe not doing good and that I'm trying to sell to somebody to actually buy a home. And I found that very funny. And that's why I'm being vulnerable right now, talking about it. Because what I thought in that moment when that person said something negative, I could have reacted in any way. I could have said, like, look at my bank account. I could have, you know, started taking pictures of all the stuff that I own. I could have shown them my $100,000 car. And in that moment, the one thing that came to mind was, this person is wounded. This person is hurting internally. This person is not happy with who they are, which is the reason they're trying to make me feel bad. So I told them, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm pretty blessed. I'm thankful to say that. And I hope that you find blessings in your life, sending you many positive vibes, something along those lines. And it was funny to me because the old self, the old version of me would have reacted. The old self would have like taken that as an insult. But the new me, the person that's standing right here in this moment, and I know I'm going to continue to change, took that as, that doesn't affect me though, because it's not true. It would only affect me if it was true. But the reality was that that person is coming from a lower vibration. That person is feeling wounded. That person is having something from me trigger them to feel the need to say something negative. And that's the mirror effect. You're going to see in others the bad that you see in yourself. If you see somebody else that's wearing like, I love, this is gonna sound weird, but I love when I see bigger girls or bigger guys embracing their body and being out in the beach and like with a bikini or with, you know, their shorts and whatever. Because I, for the longest time, have been so self-conscious to the point where even if I was thin, I was so self-conscious and I wouldn't wear shorts. Even if my legs look great, in my mind, they did not look great. So when I, before, would look at people like that, I'd be like, why would they go out looking like that? And now that I look at these people, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love how much they love themselves to the degree that they're comfortable in their own skin. And I think that's really something admirable. I think that one of the best things that you can start doing is looking at this mirror effect as, how is it that these people that I'm trying to people please, why is it that I feel so desperate, this need to try and make them like me? I recently had a situation with this person that I'm not gonna give too much details because just in case you're listening to the podcast, but this person basically had told me at one point, you know, hey, I really admire like your story, your struggle and everything you're going through. And in a situation, we basically had like a disagreement where I had to speak up about something that I didn't agree they were saying that they should do. And the old me would have taken that compliment that they had given me in that moment in which they were saying like, oh my God, it's amazing, your podcast, what you're doing. And I would have stayed quiet with that fear of like, oh my God, I don't want them not to like me anymore. Oh my God, I don't want them to think my podcast is not great anymore, or whatever the case is. But I was so committed to who I am and what I, in that moment, felt the need to speak up for, that I was willing to make somebody not like me, right? I'm doing air quotes if you're not watching the video right now, you're listening to a podcast, but not like me because I like myself more, and me staying true to myself is more important than making somebody else like me at the cost of me not being true to me. Now, the fourth point is the boundaries. The boundaries is very, very important because if you can't set clear boundaries around who you're really letting in your energy, you're going to attract a bunch of vampires, energy vampires, as we all know them, that are just going to suck the light out of you and are going to suck everything that they can out of you because they're unhappy with who they are and what they represent and what they identify with. So if you really think about it from a logical perspective, you need to be okay with setting these boundaries of, you know what, I know that maybe you want us to go and have some shots and go out clubbing, but you know, that's actually not a priority for me right now. Or, you know what, I know that you want me to go and help you move, but that's not a priority for me right now. And some of you might think like, oh, that's so mean. Why is it mean? If you're able to do it, then hey, if you want to do it, go and do it. But if you don't want to do it, why force yourself to do something that you don't want to do? You see, there's moments in life that we've been so brainwashed to this degree of assuming we have to do something just because we shouldn't let somebody else down. Now, if you said your word and you said you were going to do it, I mean, that's a different conversation. But before you commit to something, you should be comfortable enough to say, do I really want to do this or do I not want to do this? And it really takes setting those boundaries, because this is how people get into toxic relationships. They knew that that person was a red flag, but they ignored all the red flags. They ignored all the boundaries that they once had, and they fell. And then later they're heartbroken and they're just in agony and they're like, why is this happening to me? And you're like, you let the same person in. Like, who's at fault here? And it's not about beating yourself up, okay? It's not about that. It's really just about identifying it. We go back to the first thing. How can you fix something that you don't know is broken? And the last thing is really embracing your authenticity. And this is really where we get into the law of attraction. I love talking about the law of vibration because it's the primary law before the law of attraction. You cannot attract something that you're not in vibration to. It just is not going to happen, okay? However, the law of authenticity here that I'm really trying to tie into the law of attraction is you need to be your true self at all costs. You need to be comfortable being who you are, your own goofy self, your own charismatic self, or your own, whatever personality you have, but being okay doing that. You see, whenever I go to the gym, I'm naturally a very talkative person. That's what I like to tell myself I am. That's what I like to embody. And that's what I say. But there's certain moments in which I just need my me time, right? Either I'm going through something and I just need my own time, and I don't want to give you half-ass energy. I want to give you my full energy. So I'll like kind of go in a little cocoon, right? And it's like, all right, time to regroup, time to re-energize. And there's moments at the gym, right, where certain people will really try and just be in their own energy to the point where they're not being authentic to themselves by maybe either allowing themselves to talk to people that they don't want to talk to, or the contrary. And I found that when there's those days that I really don't want to talk to somebody, like I'll smile and I'll just wave, but I make it very clear that I don't want to do the small talk. I don't want to try and have this small talk conversation. But then there's those people that I know that, it's like a deeper conversation, and like I can be vulnerable with them, right? I can be more honest about, hey, you know what, today's not really a great day, but I don't want to give you this half energy, so I'm just gonna go and do my workout, but I, hit them legs hard. And it's really about just being authentically you. And sometimes we get so scared to tell people we need our space, we need our time to be in your energy. Earlier today, some stuff was going on and I was like, oh gosh, like I want to be in the best energy possible before I do my podcast, because I love being on the best energy that I possibly can to give my energy through this video to you, for you to be able to embody whatever is the message that you're going to absorb from this. And as the day passed, I was like, okay, I'm gonna let things flow. I know I'm gonna feel better, and at the time that it's time for me to record, I'm gonna feel amazing. And just a few minutes ago, my son just finished his robotics class, and I was just in awe about the fact that I was able to provide a robotics class for him that I just could only dream of ever having. My parents have been able to afford for me, well, my grandparents, for those of you that have been following the story. But finding pleasure in those little things is such an impact, and being able to stay authentic to yourself is so important when you're trying to really stop people pleasing. You need to remind yourself that if there is somebody that's hating on you, the only reason they're hating on you is because of what you symbolize, because of who you represent, because of everything that they don't have, or in their mind don't have, because honestly, we're all whole. We are all connected to source, but this illusion that we have is like, oh, they're better than me. Oh, they have more than me. So therefore, when they see that in somebody else, they need to try and make somebody else feel bad. And now you need to remember that, so that you're not putting yourself in a situation that I'm going to please somebody at the effect of really just being a detriment to my own self. Now, the last 3 tips that I'm just really going to give you for you to help yourself, the number 1 is your daily affirmations. I do not leave the house without starting at least my day with saying thank you for all the opportunities I have. Thank you for all the blessings. Every day in every way, I am getting better and better and better. And when I'm taking my little one to school, we say affirmations, we set the tone for the rest of the day. That is such a game changer, because even if you don't believe it in that moment, because trust me, I've had some situations in which I was saying it and stuff is like caving in, making room for new things that are coming in. It's just such a beautiful feeling to be able to start connecting with something that you start creating as normal in your life. The second thing is visualization. Okay, visualization is something that's very important, because you start picturing and marrying this affirmation with what you're visualizing. And if you can visualize this, then you're able to really start saying, okay, this is what the predictable future that I want to attract, versus the predictable past that you're constantly attracting. Now, the last thing is energy cleansing, and this is something that really you can do through meditation. Meditation is something that is really going to help you. Breathing is the one thing that we take for granted, I'm telling you. Like, if you could just sit there and start doing more research about how many benefits we have to just like actually breathing and taking in a deep breath versus these like shallow, narrow, deep, the breathing techniques, right? That we're not really taking the moment to really embody. Sorry, I got a tongue twist there. But just really getting the moment to say, hey, you know what? Let me take a deep breath and let me take it all in, and let me bring my nervous system to this calm, neutral state that can allow me to see things clearly. Because when we're in this anxiety and this just forcing everything to be, we're not letting things flow. And with that being said, I want to thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode. For those of you, again, that continue to come back, I appreciate you more than you know. There's times in life that we just want to feel that other people are out there going through the same stuff, that we're going to get through it. And if this is you, I just want to tell you that you've got this and you are able of so much. You are capable of the extraordinary. And if you are interested in joining our free community, I've recently started our new community on School. We have a link down below, completely free. We have also a Purpose and Clarity workbook that we've created for you guys to really start utilizing in your daily practices. And we also created a free workshop to really help you with some of these tools that we're talking about. So with that being said, thank you again. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys on the next one.